Hello and welcome to the NHL Best Bets. Last night we had a few picks out of the 11 games that were played, and the same pick that we made a few nights ago, Nashville, Carolina, under 5.5 goals. That was again pretty much as predicted. Carolina won 3-1. Pretty even game, but Carolina was again a bit better, and that shows that they are among the top teams in the division, and then Nashville is in second tier fighting for the last playoff spot. Then San Jose, Minnesota, that game was a bit different than predicted. Minnesota was clearly better. San Jose in this back-to-back game didn't have any chance, and with this kind of performances, they've now lost 5 in a row. They may say goodbye for the playoff spot. Tommy, how do you saw these games?
Yeah, exactly like you said, Carolina and Nashville played a similar game as they did before. Carolina, a better team, they shot 48 times on the goal. Juuso Saros, good game for the goal in Nashville. Same thing for Carolina's keeper Nedeljkovic now. So 3-1, quite expected score, even if I thought that it would be an overtime game. But let's be happy with that because we had the under correct. And the other game in West, San Jose very disappointing. So like you said, probably gonna wave goodbye for their playoff chances because these are the games that they need to be more competitive if they want to make it. But like we've seen with San Jose, a very difficult team to predict. Sometimes they play like the contender. Sometimes they are one of the worst teams in the league. So this time was the worst game they have played. So a good win for Minnesota, but not that much of an effort from San Jose. So a disappointing pick this time.
Those other games that we discussed yesterday, there were some of these big road underdogs like New Jersey and Ottawa. And New Jersey was knocked down in first period and couldn't do too much after it when they were 3-0 behind after 10 minutes of the game. But Ottawa pulled victory in Montreal 4-0. It was under, like you mentioned, and it was a good bet with very high odds for the road underdog.
Yeah, Montreal has now lost their offense completely, which is a bit weird thing because early in the season they played very offensively. They won a lot of games with a lot of high-scoring events. This time they played through the defense, but they couldn't now score. So losing to Ottawa is, of course, a bad thing in the contest for the playoff spot because Calgary is right there now and it's going to be a tough battle. But I do think that Montreal plays the way that they need to play in order to win games, but they have to find some ways to score goals because not scoring against Ottawa is never a good sign.
And other game as well, what we discussed yesterday, Chicago at Detroit. Detroit played as we expected them to play 0 goals. Malcolm Subban was this time the goalie who shut down the Detroit tries, and it was under clearly, and Chicago took a 4-0 convincing victory.
Yeah, that was another game that went exactly as we predicted, a low-scoring affair. Chicago did what they had to do to win the game, but played really good defense, let Malcolm Subban take the saves that he had to take, but not a lot of scoring chances for Detroit. So it was a good win, and Chicago is still there fighting for the playoffs. Let's see how it goes. It's a very, very tight match there as well.
Yeah, this Central Division fourth spot in the playoffs is very interesting because Nashville lost. They have a 46 game played and 49 points. Then Chicago has played 1 game less. They are 2 points behind. And then Dallas, who has played 3 games less, are now 3 points behind Nashville. So Dallas, with their current form, could maybe surprise based on the beginning of the season and go to the playoffs again and maybe be the dark horse like it was last year to reach Stanley Cup.
yeah, the way they play, they can beat any team in this league. And of course, now when they have a couple of games less played, it means that they will have a very congested fixture schedule now in the last month of the season. So they are gonna play 13 games in less than a month. So that's a lot of hockey to be played. But the way Dallas has played now, they are definitely looking like they will push for the playoffs. But it is very close matchup because Chicago and Nashville and Dallas are all there basically in the same point. So let's see how it goes.
And speaking about the crowded schedule, we have also Vancouver Canucks returning back to the ring after over 3 weeks Corona break, and they have played only 37 games so far. So there will be quite a few games during this next weeks for them, and they start today against Toronto. We have here first pick Toronto on the road, clearly better team with high octane offense. We expect Matthews and Carson be back. Nylander be back, and maybe Toronto can by themselves score these goals needed, because Vancouver is a big question mark after this long break, and also how many of players have been impacted by the virus. So that's over with good value here, minus 109 odds. And then another game, first game starting in a few hours. Washington goes to Boston, and Washington is currently top of the East division quite clearly, actually, with 62 points. Boston have played 3 games less, but they have 8 points behind, trying to secure the last playoff spot there. Washington has good odds, plus 125, and machine shows good value for the road team here.
Yeah, the over in Vancouver is a pick that is a bit risky, but we like Toronto, how they've played. Their offense should be a good match against Vancouver, being without playing for about 3 weeks. So it will show in their defense for sure. And the way that Toronto is playing, they will create enough chances to beat either Braden Holtby or Thatcher Demko in Vancouver goal. Of course, it's a bit difficult to predict how Vancouver will come back from this sort of a long break. So the over is a good bet, because against Toronto, you're going to have to open up your play. You have to try to create enough chances if you want to win. Vancouver probably is pretty much out of the races of the playoff, even if they have a lot of games to be played. But Toronto, a lot better team, high scoring team, and both teams are allowing quite a lot of goals as well, over 3 on average per game. So I do think this is going to be a very free flowing and open game in that way, and maybe Toronto will score that 6 goals by themselves. So it's a good pick for over. In the simulations, it is 61% going that over that line, so a great value with minus 109 odds. And the other game, the top teams in the East, or at least have been the top teams in the East, Boston and Washington, a tough matchup there. Boston has now played a little bit better. They got Tuukka Rask back in the net. They're playing like they should be playing. Had a little bit of a difficulty a couple of weeks here, but now they've been winning. Washington is a bit better team. If they want to battle for the top spot in that division, they will have to beat Boston. And with these odds, plus 125, great value for Washington team, 53% in the simulation. So odds indicating somewhere around 45. So excellent value for a road underdog here. I do think that this game is very much of a coin flip, 50-50 kind of affair. So let's go with the Washington Capitals.
Then another game in this East division, New York Islanders travels to Philadelphia. They continue their road trip that has resulted so far 2 losses against Boston, and Flyers, like we've seen, have been up and down, sometimes winning teams like a Pittsburgh on the road and then coming back to home and losing to Washington by surrendering 6 goals in 2 games that they faced Washington in week. So here the machine shows value for the home team, but do you think Islanders will lose 3 in a row?
Yeah, that's unlikely. I don't think Islanders will lose, or at least this is a very close matchup. Again, we have 52% for Philadelphia Flyers. Of course, in the season, the simulations have liked Philadelphia a lot better than they've actually played. So we are expecting much better performances from the Flyers. They've been struggling in defense, in goaltending, and now also having difficulty scoring goals. So their play is now in all over the place, so it's not very impressive, but still, according to the machine, Philadelphia will win this. So let's see how Barry Trotz answers to this.
And then we have one game that we bet or picked a few nights ago. Vegas continues their trip in Southern California, second game against Anaheim, and it was that time under, like we predicted. This time machine also predicts it to go under, but last time it required Jonathan Gibson to show all his skills to stop at least most of the over 50 shots that Golden Knights gave to him. Do you think it would be a similar kind of game and going under this time as well?
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a similar sort of game, but there is a big risk, of course, when the other team is so much better and then now Anaheim doesn't have anything to play for. So there is a bit of a risk it going completely into mode of if Vegas is shooting 50 times, it's very hard for the goaltender to keep it under. So in the simulation, 66% under 5.5 goals. So there is value in that under pick, but it is a bit risky. And also Anaheim, because they don't have anything to play for, they are probably playing quite offensively and trying to score goals, because why not? So a little bit of a risky under, but this is what the machine says.
Yeah, Anaheim has been a bit up and down. They won San Jose twice on the road, but we've seen how San Jose has played recently, so that's maybe not the best benchmark there. Last game against Vegas 4-0 was very lousy performance, so there's maybe some kind of reason to bet Vegas with these high odds, minus 250 or 260, but we don't do that because we usually stay away from those minus 200 or higher odds.
Yeah, Vegas is so much better team. Like I mentioned, that Anaheim, there is nothing to play for them. So it is of course a massive difference in the quality of the roster. But as we've seen, sometimes these games don't go the way we expect, and simulations are showing 76% for Vegas, which is a massive number, of course. So there is a little bit of value for the road favorite here. But like you mentioned, maybe not with these odds. We stay away from that.
Let's see how the games go. Like I said, Washington and Boston will start in a few hours, and then there would be a few other early games as well. New York, New Jersey again, and Pittsburgh plays in Buffalo in second edition of this series. So there will be a good night of hockey again, and we'll be back tomorrow with a recap of these games and new picks for new week.
See you tomorrow.